That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh, God, it's a toad, son. It's a toad, dude.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh, God, it's a toad, son. It's a toad, dude.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day.
Pictures.
What is going on, folks?
We don't need new pictures. What's going on, folks? Sorry for the double intro. We didn't have sound working, so I decided I was going to play it again.
It's all my fault.
Welcome to the OneCast Wednesday. I don't know if anybody's going to join us or not, but we decided to just go ahead and go live for recording our episode, which will be recorded and dropped next week, but anybody watching live is going to get it this week. We've got a bunch of guests lined up the next few weeks. What's going on, David? We knew you'd be here, and we're super glad you are. But excuse me, we wanted to, while it was fresh in our minds, take some time to recap the Warrior Fishing event. Trey and I want to talk a little bit about the pressure that we're feeling going into our derby this weekend. We've never been in this position, so it's a little bit unique for us. So excited about that. And then if you folks are on watching, of course, we're going to answer your questions. But before we get going, like we do every episode, we got to make sure we shout those out that make it possible
And
for us to do this.
I guess I'll start with OneCast Fishing and the snagless revolution, snagless jigs, long neck hooks, weedless nets, soft plastics, all that good stuff. Typically, we say use the code TheOneCast to save 10%. Well, here's the deal. Since this is live, but if you're listening to this after the fact, starting sometime tomorrow, which will be the 23rd of May, all the way through the end of the 31st, midnight on the 31st of May, we'll be doing 20% off store-wide. That is for our summer savings special, Memorial Day, biggest event of the year. This is our biggest sale of the year. Is typically we do that Memorial Day. So go over the next week, 10 days, and save 20% on all your snagless jigs.
Yep. And if you are watching this live or you're listening until the 28th, Hobie Eyewear, who we've partnered with, we've been talking a lot about Hobie Eyewear, is running 20% off plus free shipping. That 20% off works with our code. So it defaulted our normal 15% off. You get an extra 5% off plus free shipping, which usually you get free shipping just because,
It's our link.
because of the price. So if you click the link, which is here, if you're watching live, you can click that link and take it. That'll get you 20% off and free shipping on Hobie Eyewear. If you're listening to this when it comes out next Thursday, you can go ahead and let's go legal. Awesome. Yeah, you can go ahead and I'm probably going to ban whoever that is because I'm not sure. Sorry. If somebody starts spamming chat, let me know and I'll go in and ban them. But you can go to Hobie Eyewear. You can use that link I just posted in the chat. If you're listening next week when this comes out, if you're listening to recorded, the link is down below. You have until the 28th to get that 20% off and free shipping. So make sure you go check them out. Hobie Eyewear, keep those eyes protected. Get the floating frame so you never lose another expensive pair of polarized glasses. Also, while you're protecting your eyes, make sure you protect your skin. Trey's rocking the sun shirt. They just released the new one at CarolinaWatersNC.com. You can see the hats. They got the performance wear, gloves, buffs. They've got it all. That's CarolinaWatersNC.com. Code TheOneCast, all one word. That'll also save you 20%. Go get you some of that UPF gear. Protect yourself from the elements while you're out there on the water. And Trey.
Why is it always me? Hey, listen, if you're in the market for a piece of property, specifically here in the Sandhills region of North Carolina, but you know what? It doesn't matter. You can hit our buddy Eric Schwinn up if you're in that market and you're out of state or outside the Sandhills region. He'll hook you up with a Mossy Oak Properties broker. You can shoot him a text or give him a call at 936-494-9686 or shoot him an email at eschwind@mossyoakproperties.com. Eric has a wide array of different properties from land to residential not developments but residents and things like that. Yeah, man, I'm sorry, I'm like burned right now from practicing all day. So head on over, check Eric out. He'll hook you up. And if you haven't listened to the second to last episode, I think it is, head back over where Ben and I sit down with Eric for an extended period of time, and we really dive into the catfishing world, which is really nice. So
that was a great great episode there. So as Pete mentioned in the beginning, this is a live version here. We're doing a live Wednesday. Typically we do fishing Friday live on Fridays, hence the name, but we didn't do one last weekend because we had the social for Take a Warrior Fishing. That's what we're going to talk about here in a few minutes.
Yep.
And then this week, the reason why we're not having this because Pete and Trey have their tournament meeting for their final regular season tournament of the year on Falls Lake.
Yep.
And so that's why we're not doing it this Friday. So we decided to go live today, and we wanted to talk over the event this past weekend on Sharon Harris, or Karen Harris, as it was for a lot of us.
Sorry for all the Karens.
Except for Trey. He didn't have any Karens out there. But Pete and I and our angler veterans, we struggled a little bit. So Trey, why don't you tell us about what the event was?
So,
or actually, let's have Pete do it since he's on the board.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Take a Warrior Fishing Inc. is a 501c3. It's headquartered here in North Carolina, but we're starting to get trips all over the country. So if you are listening, wherever you are in the country, if you're interested in getting a veteran out fishing on your boat, we do not provide any financial to you, but we can give you tax write-off to cover your fuel and everything for the day. But that's not what it's about. It's about getting those that have fought for our country out, let them experience the outdoors, get them fishing, a little bit of recreational therapy, and just some time to clear their head. So you can go to warriorfishing.org. There's a sign up on there as a boater. You can put your information in there and say, hey, I'd love to take a warrior fishing wherever you are, whether you're in Pennsylvania. We've had Pennsylvania trips recently, Wisconsin. We just had our first one ever up there. We have some in North Carolina. We've had South Carolina. We've had Florida. So looking to get all states, everybody involved. It doesn't have to be boat fishing. We do get folks that do the trout stuff on the western side of North Carolina. So if you're in a western state and you're listening, and you want to take somebody fly fishing, that would be awesome. We'd love to get you set up. But this event is one of our it's not really a fundraiser. We do try to raise some funds when we're doing it, but it's an event to get a bunch of warriors on the water at one time to experience that fishing and to experience a tournament. So,
and this was what the Spring Warrior Classic.
Yeah, it was the Spring Warrior Classic is what it's called. And it was a free event for everybody. So boaters and warriors, you signed up and the boaters were paired randomly with a warrior, warriors paired randomly with a boater, drew a number. We did a blast off, everything just like you would a normal tournament day, except there was no money on the line. We did have a bunch of prizes and stuff we handed out. And so, yeah, you got to go spend a day on the water with a warrior. You may or may not have known them. They may or may not have ever fished before. They may have just been getting into it, only done it a couple times. So it's a really good event and ton of fun. Had a lot of fun, lots of laughs, lots of good conversation. We caught a bunch of fish. Just Sharon Harris still has the slot limit, and pretty much everything I caught was in the slot except for one keeper. And I think Ben, you had slot fish as well.
Yeah, we did.
And one keeper, and then Trey.
Well, we had two keepers.
Oh, yeah, you had two. That's right. And then Trey made the right decision and knew where there were some little ones. And I know that sounds weird when you're fishing a tournament, but he knew where there were some of those ones that were under the slot that he could put in the live well. And he went out and whacked them. And he let us know what was going on. I know me personally, I made a decision to not move soon enough.
Let's how about we each talk about, maybe for just a couple of minutes, our day out there with our angler. And I don't know if we want to go first, Pete, because Trey's the one who and his angler kicked our butts out there.
I've been talking, so I can kick it off real quick.
Go for it. Yeah.
Let me say hi to my mom. Thanks for watching, Mom.
Hi, Mom.
It.
Thanks for watching.
Sorry.
Meatloaf. Yeah, it was a great day. Dave Fuchs came down, who's in the chat, fan of the show, came down and took a warrior, so that was super awesome. But yeah, so our day, I think we were boat 14, something like that.
You were boat 18.
17. You were 18. So yeah, I was boat 17. Got to where I wanted to start without anybody else being there, which was good because Sharon Harris isn't a huge lake. There's not a ton of areas, but I had an idea where I wanted to start. My warrior had some fishing experience, but not a whole lot. She had a rod and stuff and wanted to throw some bait she had. So I was like, go for it. This is what I'm going to do. So we rolled up there, and on my second cast, I caught a 4.2 and had to throw it back promptly because
19 and a half inches.
It was, well, it was 17 3/4. It was a fat. I don't think it had spawned yet.
That was bigger than
I'm sorry. That one was 18 1/4.
Oh, okay.
4.2, 18 1/4. Slot limit, for those that don't know, on Sharon Harris, if a fish touches 16 inches or 20 inches, or is in between that, you cannot put them in your live well. They have to be released immediately. That is hopefully going away here in the next couple months. It looks like it's going to, but it's been that way for a long time. So second cast of the day, 4-2. Boat flipped it in. My warrior was freaking out, and I said, well, yep, that one's not gonna help. She was like, what? I was like, I guarantee you that one's in the slot. And I threw it up there, and I was like, pray it's 20. And
You tried to stretch that fish out.
It was 18 and 18 and a
Yeah, I did that a couple
quarter.
times too.
So had to throw that one back. And then a cast later, I caught a catfish on top water, which I didn't even know was possible. But I think we figured out that they're just up there feeding on the cicadas. So if you're in North Carolina or in one of the states that are getting the cicada hatch, everything is eating them. I had a carp straighten a D-ring out on a top water that ate it, and I've never seen a carp eat a top water.
You say that it was crazy because I saw a lot of carp up shallow. They were spawning, they were splashing around. There's a couple I just pitched at with whatever bait I was throwing at the time. It's the only time I've actually seen carp swim over to it and actually nose down like a bass would. Usually you pitch into a carp, they in the other direction or something.
Yeah.
That was that. They were doing some weird things out there on Saturday.
Yeah. So like 6 casts later, I caught a 3-2 that was 17 and a quarter. Had to throw that one back. And then about 4 casts later, I caught another 3 and some change. I had to throw that one back. And then I was like, well, there's fish here, so maybe we can run into an over. So I kept running that. We agreed to reach out to each other about an hour in to see what was up. Trey's like, yep, I got 5. They're offshore. This is where I'm at. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to go there. I think I can catch them shallow. Should have went there. So we did the shallow thing for a little bit more. Didn't catch anything else, anything we could keep. And then I said, okay, we do need to go offshore. Caught one 14-incher on like my 4th cast. And then the offshore bite completely shut down for the entire rest of the day, pretty much. So we ran around the lake and did a bunch of stuff. She ended up, my warrior ended up catching a nice slab crappie. She caught another catfish on a swim bait, which we kept. She took those home and fried them up for her and her husband that night. She was super excited about that. And we just had a blast. It was a ton of fun. Got to teach her a bunch. She had a lot of questions. And we went in, weighed in, had a couple hot dogs, got to hang out with everybody. If you follow us on socials, you saw some videos that our boy Bass and Through put together. And we were able to, show a little bit of what went on there. So that was super, super awesome. And so that was our day. It was a long day after about, I don't know, 9:30 because it really, really slowed down.
Yeah, it got real tough.
Antonio, we're in North Carolina.
North Carolina.
Yep.
And we're talking about the Take the Warrior fishing event, Spring Warrior Classic out on Sharon Harris. So I think you guys might have actually caught more bass total than us, Pete. So my angler and I met him for the first time Friday night at the social. Had very little experience fishing. So I rigged up a couple of spinning rods for him. First thing in the morning, I had on a spinnerbait and a wacky rig Senko. And, I decided I was probably going to throw topwater first thing in the morning. So because all of us had thought the bass, and there was supposed to be it was supposed to rain the entire morning.
Yes, it was.
And it actually never developed. So the weatherman is a liar once again. That seems to be a tendency around here. But so the game plan was to go shallow, especially with, an inexperienced angler on the boat too, because it's kind of more difficult to go offshore. And you're more limited in what they can throw. So pull up the first couple spots because we were boat 35. First couple points had some boats on them. So we just kept going, but we stopped on that big long peninsula on the Cary branch side and on the left side, right, for some of those, and pulled up on the first point and then worked the first pocket. As we were exiting that first pocket, I caught an 18-inch slot on topwater on a popper. And then we worked around the next pocket there. These are just little pockets kind of off the main lake, and had a couple swipes at the spinnerbait. And so, we thought too, they're going to be shallow. You text us about 8:30, I think it was 8:39. And we were still checking a few things out. And eventually we gave up on that, probably about 11 o'clock, a little bit too late. Yeah. Started searching around offshore. And we ended up catching 2 offshore that we brought into the scales. And actually, my angler, Dusty, he caught both of them. Once we moved off the bank, I was like, you know what? The best way to catch fish right now, probably for you, is to put on a shaky head. And that's exactly what we did. A shaky head with a Senko.
Yeah.
And he dragged that black and blue Senko around out in about 8 to 10 foot, and he put 2 in the boat that way. So he actually brought the 2 to scales. And then we actually went back to the very first spot in the morning, but pulled off that point, and he caught a 19-inch bass, right? His biggest bass he ever caught.
Really? He got his PB that day.
Got his PB
That's
bass
amazing.
off that point on the shaky head. Unfortunately, we tried squeezing it because when he's bringing it up, I'm like, oh, this is going to be close. This might work. But it was about an inch short, and that was probably about 2 o'clock. So we fished around a little bit more and then came on in. Ended up weighing 2 fish for 2 pounds, 2.3 pounds. So tough day out there catching those little fish, but it was good enough that we finished in the top half of the field.
Yeah.
So I was, but most of all, I was thankful the angler and Dusty was actually, he's the one who caught most of the fish, and that's what it's about, was be able to put him on fish. And he had a great time. And he's like, man, I may have to get into bass fishing. I may have to get a boat after this, because he's like, this is actually fun. It's even though we went a while without catching, and he caught a catfish too, and we caught some white perch, and I was like, this is just a good time. So hopefully that will foster a hobby and interest in the future.
Absolutely. Yeah. So before I go into my day, we have to give Doug Phillips with the PBC a huge shout out. He was the one that brought the weigh-in trailer and set everything up, and Backcountry Hunters and Anglers out of Fort Liberty now. They showed up. Mark Tuck from Blessed Vet Baits, obviously Take a Warrior Fishing, Black Ops Tackle. They were there as well. And I know I'm probably forgetting somebody, but the reality is it was actually a really big event. I think we had 46, 48 boats, right? Two people per boat. So we had a relatively decent field. I mean, way bigger than a lot of club tournaments.
It's actually, that was pretty big field for that lake, because there was actually one point early morning. I wouldn't say early morning. So mid to late morning, as we were starting to make the transition to go offshore, we were going around the lake and driving around, looking around. And we're like, there's more and more boats pulling off too. And they were actually in a couple spots I wanted to pick. So I was like, everyone's starting to figure out what's going on. But with 50 boats, there's a few times out there it can get crowded on some of those spots.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you want to shout out more sponsors before I start my day? Is that what you're looking at right now?
I think you got everybody. Well, just some of the people that brought folks. So if you don't know, the Army has the BOSS program, which is better opportunities for single soldiers. I think they brought 5 anglers. So 5 young, most of them were young, if I remember. The younger guys have been around, probably privates.
Soldiers that live in the barracks.
Yeah, they live in the barracks. So they brought them out, gave them an opportunity to get off base and experience something that they probably normally wouldn't. Fallen Outdoors, which is another 501c3 that gets veterans out hunting and fishing into the outdoors. They brought several people. I don't remember how many. I think they had 4 or 5 as well.
Yep.
American Legion out of Fuquay had some folks there that helped with the grilling and the hot dogs. And I can't remember the guy that did the actual grilling has a barbecue company, and
I think it was Rick's Barbecue.
Rick's Barbecue, that's
Rick's
it.
Barbecue,
so he came out. He does the barbecue for some of our other fundraisers. We have another one coming up if you're local that I'll shout out here in a little bit. So they cook the hot dogs. But yeah, Black Ops Tackle, Deep Creek Lures, Easy Bait and Tackle, all provided a ton of baits. And Easy Tackle provided, I think, 5 or 6 rods and reels. And I apologize, Paul, if you're listening. Paul with the MPFL. I can't remember the name of the company that y'all are working with now doing the outdoor sales, so that he's working with a sales group now doing that. And I can't remember the name of it, but they donated 2 pairs of Bahio sunglasses and I think 4 ARC fishing rods as well. And I will get the name and I will make sure that they get proper. Actually, is it the Southern Harvest Hospitality Group? It could be. I'm not 100%, but I will get the right name from our friend Paul Benson, and I will get that out there, because that was huge for them. I mean, that was $500 worth of sunglasses.
Oh man.
2 gift cards so folks could go pick out the ones they wanted from Bahio, and then several ARC rods that are a couple $100. So some companies stepped up really big, and it was awesome to see. So I appreciate you remembering that, Trey, because I did not, and that's why you're better spokesman than I am.
Well, first of all, I can't even speak right now. My throat's all dried up from being out on the water all day. But I'll tell you, these events are
What's up, Frank?
are amazing. The intent behind the event is to take the warrior fishing and put that warrior on some fish if you absolutely can. That's the real pressure, is getting them on some fish. Ben, you got your warrior on fish. Pete, you did too, and so did I. But Sharon Harris, or AKA Karen Harris, can be a very, very tough lake tournament wise, but it's usually a great lake to get people on fish, right? So I wasn't overly concerned about catching bass or fish in general. But like Ben said, like it was, both of you guys said, it was the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. So the warrior that I had, he's active duty Army. And he's got a pretty special position within the Army. So I'm not going to talk about that, but he was a great dude. He had a little bit of fishing experience. He brought a couple spinning rods. I hooked him up with a Lew's American Hero Series spinning rod, which was actually given to me through the SOBA tournament. And if I'm not going to use something and it's just going to sit there, I'm going to donate it to somebody. I just think that's the right thing to do. So hooked him up with that. So we had 3 rods, and my game plan is going to change after August, by the way. This is going to change my whole strategy on that lake, right? Yeah. Because I know how to catch 15-inch fish, which is really sad to say, right? But they win tournaments on that lake just because of that slot limit. But nevertheless, like, our game plan was to go shallow first thing in the morning, and we did. We went shallow, and I caught a catfish. Very first fish I caught, catfish on spinnerbait. And I'm like, this is bizarre. And then second fish I caught was a white perch. I'm like, what is happening? So then we ran mid-lake section. Then we ran up to the northern part of the lake and started throwing some topwater, and he was throwing a crankbait. And I think it was a carp. Now looking back on it, I don't think it was a mudfish, but I was throwing a topwater bait, a pop-R, and I had the biggest carp. I think it was a carp, hit my pop-R and break my hooks off, like break my hook points off. And I was like, hey, this ain't happening. I was like, no way am I going to cull through 50,000 catfish just to catch bass. So then I decided, you know what? I know they're offshore. I know some of them are offshore. They're not all offshore, of course. In fact, the smaller ones are offshore and the bigger ones are up shallow, where you guys were at, right? But the chances of running into a fish that's 20 plus inches, I thought was slim to none. That's just just based on my experience on the lake. Granted, there was an 812 weighed in. Mm-hmm. There was 2 that were over 6 pounds weighed in, and then there was 2 that were over 4 pounds weighed in, and they measured big post-spawn females. But that was the only fish those guys weighed in for the day, right? So
with an 8-pounder,
with an 8-pounder, right, is the only fish they weighed in, which is a trophy fish. So we went offshore in that 8 to 15 foot range, and I say 8 to 15 because they were anywhere between 8 to 15, and we started laying waste to them. Between throwing a shaky head, fish 1 and 2 came off. I think it came off I don't know what it came off of, a drop shot or something, a shaky head. But then Anthony or Tony, he caught keeper number 3 with a bladed jig in the open water, a bait that I despise throwing. But he caught it, right? And I hooked him up. He was like, oh, I gave him a trailer for it. He's like, is a trailer better? I was like, usually you throw a trailer on these and not, I don't throw trailers on my spinner baits, but whatever you want to do, you can probably still catch fish with it. So number 3 came in the boat, and then 4 and 5 quickly after. And then I texted the group. I was like, hey, I got 5. They're in this water depth. This is what I'm using. Drop shot, shaky head, whatever. Something that was really cool in the day is I ended up abandoning that area. And oh, by the way, the CCKF had a kayak tournament out there as well, right? So as boaters sometimes tend to be a little bit disrespectful to kayakers, and that was not the case that day. Like if there was a kayak on a point or something, like they own that point, I wasn't going to get in their way. But I did make my way back down the lake and asked an angler that was fishing the tournament if he minded if I pulled up and fished in a different direction from him. And he said, absolutely not, man. Like, let's do this. And I watched him catch 2 or 3 fish and call out 2 times. And we were just having a good time, and we were all communicating with each other. And really, like, I think that was like one of the more enjoyable parts of the day, because you guys are right. Like, after 11, it really shut down.
Yep.
I think we caught more fish, but we never called up again. And then at the end of the day, we ended up weighing in 5 for, and Doug wouldn't give it to me 9 pounds. He gave me 8.99. But yeah, I mean, it was good enough for, not that it mattered, but it was good enough for 3rd place. And, we were able to get our hands on some of those really cool door prizes. So
yeah,
all in all, it was a great day, man.
it was an awesome.
It really was a great day.
We got 47 warriors out. We had 47 boats. We had 2 pull out because of the predicted rain. Warriors and boaters that communicated and decided they didn't want to fish in the rain, and then it never rained. So
it didn't even sprinkle on
so
us.
that and speaking of the weather, right? Like we run patterns based on weather, right? We make decisions based on weather. At least I know we all do here. And we all talked about it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We all talked, like, if it's raining, we're going shallow, because that lake is notorious for catching big fish when it's raining and a little bit of wind.
And it didn't rain.
It wasn't even a single drop of water. I think the only drop of water that hit my face was from a trolling motor.
The sun started poking out at 8:30.
Yeah.
It was like, it's supposed to be 90% chance of rain, or at least it was 12 hours ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
It was
fishing.
It was a
burned
great
a little
day.
fuel, burned up a trolling motor. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
Talk about that, Pete.
Yeah. So I fried a control board in Ultrex, which it happens. Especially I've got. I mean, they don't track hours, but I looked at my graph on the front of my boat, my front graph, which is always on for the most part when my trolling motor's on, and I had 1,800 hours on that graph. So I have close to 2,000 hours on that trolling motor, and something happened with my control board. My foot pedal started smoking, and she shut down and was never to come back again. So took it in for repair. I was just going to replace the board. But I decided to take it in and see if there was anything else wrong. And luckily I did, because when the board caught fire and melted a bunch of other stuff. So yeah, it cost me about $1,000 getting fixed, but totally worth it. I wouldn't change anything. I mean, it was going to burn up eventually. I'm glad it did it in that tournament. It kind of handicapped us for the last hour or so, but if it would have happened in one of our other points events or a championship or something, then would have been a little bit more upset. But she's getting fixed, so nothing I could do about it. There's really no maintenance you can do to make sure the boards don't go bad. When you have electronics and water and outdoors and use, eventually stuff is going to break, and it just happened to break while we were out there. So we got that there getting fixed. Warrior fishing, yeah. So we got take warrior fishing. We got a few more events. I don't have the date and it's not posted yet, but in July. If you are local to the Raleigh area, bust out another 1,000 boat. That's right, David.
Yep.
If you are local in the Raleigh area, Fuquay Arena, Cary, any of that, we have a poker run coming up in July. And at the end of the poker run, we have a barbecue plate sale going. So that's all pure fundraiser. Any money raised is going to go back to the 501c3. And what that does, what we use our money for within our organization, is we'll pay for a big charter. And then we'll raffle that off as another fundraiser. So most of that money goes into fundraising, money goes into more fundraising. But there is expenses when we run tournaments. You've got prizes you have to buy. Sometimes you have to buy food if it's not donated. Luckily, we were blessed to have most of the stuff donated for the Take Warrior Fishing event. What's going on, Jeff? So we have that coming up in July. I'll share more when we have dates. If you're local and ride a motorcycle and want to do the poker run, you can also drive your truck in the poker run if you want to. For those that don't know what a poker run is, you start somewhere. They give you a card, like table card, like game card. And then you have several stops along the way where you get a hand of poker. At the end, you get to your final destination. Whoever has the best hand wins. And there's prizes and stuff associated with that. It's pretty cool. And then, like I said, we're going to do a barbecue plate sale. Rick's Barbecue. He's coming out to barbecue, donating that food. He's going to donate it. We're going to sell plates for whatever they are. I don't know the price, so I'm not going to say it because then you all be yelling at me if I'm wrong. But all that money will come to the 501c3 to help us continue to grow and get folks out on the water. Then we have a big mixer, I guess you can call it, in September, which is really fun. Come check that out. That is I will tell you right now because I did pull it out. It's at the Tap Yard in Raleigh on September 7th. So I know we have 3 bands lined up. We've got prizes to hand out. I think they're going to do a cornhole tournament. We're going to have food, obviously drinks. And again, that's a pure fundraiser for us. So
you know who y'all should have got?
Who's that?
Abby Abadanza.
Yeah, he's on my list of people to reach out to. But yeah, and then in November, if that whole warrior fishing thing we did in the spring sounds cool, we got another one in November 2nd, on Sharon Harris again. That is any fish tournament, so we'll have different categories for crappie, catfish, bass. So that's strictly just going out and catching fish. It doesn't. There's no pressure. We do have prizes. We'll have food and all that stuff. And then we'll go straight from that with Take Warrior Fishing to the SOBA event. Special Operations Bass Anglers on Lake Norman. House is filling up fast. I've got Trey, my dad, my wife. You're fishing it, right, this year? I got Ben. I don't know if Mike's coming up, but we got David Fuchs and his wife are coming down. So we have a house. We don't have a house because I've been to call Monday and I didn't. I need to call and reserve the house. So I'm going to get an Airbnb. So if you're interested in coming and staying with us and fishing with us for a couple days in November, hit us up for details. Check out Special Operations Bass Anglers on Facebook. Join their group. It's an awesome tournament. So that one is the Friday before Veterans Day. It's always on that Friday because there's always tournaments on that Saturday that are club tournaments or whatever. So to not step on that, they do it on Friday. But you'll get a chance to fish against pros. You'll get a chance to fish against the locals. There is an entry fee in that one. The payouts are really good. They have a ton of awesome prizes. And there's even more stuff happening this year as far as food vendors, coffee, all of that good stuff. So make sure you check out Special Operations Bass Anglers. Jordan was on fire Tuesday. Our 3 fish tournament took 16 pounds to win. I had 10 pounds and took 4th.
Good.
Yeah. Jordan Falls, they were all firing Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, maybe today. I don't know.
Jordan.
We're not going to talk about Trey's practice, but we are practicing Falls a little bit. So
yeah, we were definitely.
And Jordan got high too.
Jordan's doing some change.
They're keeping Jordan high. They're keeping Bugs Island high. Falls is
dumping the water out of Falls.
Is dropping. Jeff, you are a pro in my eyes.
Absolutely, take water.
And Jeff was one of the 4, I think, 4 or 5
had an over.
That had an over in the Take a Warrior Fishing event. So congratulations, Jeff. Those are unicorns on Karen Harris for now. So
it's gonna get so much better.
Oh yeah, it will. You're gonna see consistent.
You start seeing 15. Some of the slot fish pulled out. Like you're gonna see a lot of 20. I mean, you look at the fish I caught first thing in the morning. I threw back 17 pounds.
I know.
You're about to come once they get rid of the slot. You're about to see a tournament where everyone has between 16 and 18 pounds.
Oh yeah,
it's gonna be ounces.
Yeah. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
I've never weighed in a limit of overs on that lake. I've won a couple times on that lake with like 2 overs and an under. But it'll be a blast. I mean, I think you're gonna see like a significant amount of pressure on that lake, but I think it needs it, right? We talked about that before.
Seth talked about it. Yeah.
We need to call out a lot of fish in that lake so we can let those big ones get bigger. People need to eat some bass. If you're into that kind of thing, I'm not, but if you like that, go ahead and harvest some bass, man, because that place is filled with 15, 16.
Did they finally start pulling some water, Jeff? Because when I looked last night before the Tuesday nighter, it was stagnant. They were not pulling anything, and it took 18, I think, to win the Tuesday nighter last night on Jordan. Yeah, 5 fish, so pretty good bag.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
you guys want to?
Yeah.
So transition to about this weekend. So the other reason why we're not doing the live tonight, I know we mentioned that, but Pete and Trey have a tremendously important tournament this weekend at Falls Lake, and they're going to talk about it here in a second. But I got a couple questions I want to ask them about it because the pressure's on. They're a leading angler of the year, and you're leading the Fishers of Men for your district. I just call it a district here, right? Or is I
think they call it
a region, or
that's fine.
Whatever your little
we'll go with that.
The little circuit is, the trail. They're leading angler of the year. You're ahead by 7 points.
7 points, yeah.
By our good buddies Mike and Nick.
Yep.
So
and
if you
guys 8 points ahead of the 3rd place team.
What's on the line is because you guys should already be qualified for nationals. It's about that free ticket the nationals.
Correct.
Entry fees paid. So there's a lot of pressure involved on this one. So how are you guys feeling about it? How you dealing with that pressure? And I know, Trey, you've been out there the day. You got a game plan yet?
We're about 30%. If we were to put like some numbers to it, Falls is not a lake that I have a lot of experience on. I mean, I think I've been there 5 times.
I've been there twice.
It's a great fishery. It holds really big bags of fish. I mean, we've saw numerous 25 plus pound bags come out of there before, but
29 won it on Saturday.
Yeah, 29 last Saturday. Yep. So, we went out there today. I went out there today and did some practicing and stuff and, focused my attention on a certain sector of the lake. And then tomorrow I'm going to go back and look at another section of it. But, I caught enough fish to have a limit. I kind of pulled some things away from their mouth so I didn't sore mouth everything. But, it's depending on your experience on the lake, like there are certain guys that know where big fish just live on the lake, right? You're also dealing
talking
with,
to you, Corsley.
You're also dealing with a population of bass that's also in the post spawn blues too. So there's a lot of definitely areas that they are biting in. But really for me, like the pressure is just the biggest pressure is putting together a solid plan. We've been very consistent this year, obviously, in putting a plan together, sticking to that plan, making adjustments as necessary. But, the good Lord's blessed us all year long.
Really has.
And I got to give him all the credit for that. So at the end of the day, we're going to go out and catch what we can catch. We've been pretty adamant about not putting a weight to what we need. Because I think a lot of times it sets you up for failure.
Yep.
Especially if you don't know where the fish live. Like on the right side of certain stumps, you got a 5-pounder that just stays there. I can do that a lot on Sharon Harris just because I'm on that body of water so consistently. But everybody has their home lake. So when you look at like, Mike Corbersley and Jesse Wise and Seth Ellis and some of the other locals, like, they are very, very good on that lake. So it's not going to be easy by any means. And we're going to go out and do the absolute best we can and catch what we can. Hopefully the conditions on Saturday are a little more favorable for keeping
for what we want to do.
Yeah, for what we want to do and keeping pleasure boaters off the lake.
That's the big one.
Because
Memorial Day Saturday.
Yeah, we are fishing.
Yeah, I can't believe they scheduled on Memorial Day weekend.
Let me defend our tournament director on this one. It was pure accident.
Yep.
And he talked about that during the last angler meeting at the last tournament that we fished, which was very good tournament. Came in 3rd place, so that was great.
You can hear all about it tomorrow at noon.
Yeah.
So it drops on your platform of choice.
So he apologized for that. But I think it's 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. We may see a big turnout tomorrow. We may see a very small turnout tomorrow for anglers, just because it is Memorial Day weekend. The weather is calling to be a little bit unfavorable. So I don't know what's going to happen, but yeah, we're in that 30 percentile. So hopefully we reach 60 to 70 tomorrow when we break down a different section of the lake. And like Jeff said, get a limit and go find a big one. And that's the key, right? Like you got to get 5. No matter what, especially when you're leading AOI, like you have to get 5 keepers.
5 fish goes a long way.
5 fish goes a long way. And, one of the things that I've noticed about the weights recently, and this is all over the country, it's not even just in North Carolina, but you're going to have like 3, 4 to 5 guys that really have like mega bags, and then those weights drop off real quick.
Yeah, it's always like that
right?
here, especially.
Yeah, so
Jordan Falls.
So we'll see what happens. Like I'm just going to keep praying and making sure like we fish as clean as we can, and try to get as much intel as we can from our buddies, because we don't have an information rule, which is kind of cool. So, but at the same time, like, and Pete knows me, like, I'm very skeptical about like listening to people too, because like I can't catch their fish, even if, unless it's maybe a school or something like that, but I can't fish the same way that Mike does, that Seth does, that, and I'm just naming some of our buddies, but they fish differently. They angle their boats differently. They have distance differently. Like there's all sorts of stuff. So I caught enough fish today to make me feel comfortable to get a limit, but I didn't catch a size that would probably make us a little bit better.
Which is fine. I don't want you catching big ones today anyway. Yeah, I mean, you know, I don't know. I've run the numbers like 57 times on points and where it need to be. Like we've been talking about Sunday. I think we were both nervous and the pressure was hitting a little bit. Because we ended up hooking up Sunday evening. We came over just to talk strategy. My wife, we're still living in campers, so she wanted to do a load of laundry, so we borrowed their washing machine. So thanks to Trey and Brandy for that. So we, you know, and we were definitely both the pressure gets to you a little bit, but we were able to harness that now. And I've got nerves. I'm anxious, but it's like a good anxious. Like I'm ready to get out there on the water. And if it's meant to be, we hear everybody in fishing say it. I know it sounds cliche, but like when it's meant to be, it'll be. We just got to go do our job, right? Like we've got to go out. We've got to go catch 5. And whatever the good Lord blesses with, if it's enough that we get to be number 1 that day, then I'm not even in the tournament. I mean, on AOI, I'd love to win the tournament. Maybe we'll go smash 30 and then we don't even have to worry about it. But you know, if it's our time to take that AOI and all of that, then that's what it's going to be. But we got to do our jobs, and that's just what we keep telling ourselves. Like we've got a job we got to do. We got to go out and catch 5 fish as clean as we can. Luckily, Trey's was able to break the lake down some and get a little bit of time away to practice and kind of get an idea of what's going on. Cause it's not a lake that we have a bunch of time on. I'm trying not to, Seth, man. I'm not you. You're like cool, calm, and collected from being a quarterback. I don't know how to do that. I was a lineman. I was just a nervous wreck.
All I got to say is the coolest thing I've seen today was Seth rolling around with no shirt on, just chilling, dude. Chilling like a villain.
I wish he would have sent me a picture, Seth. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm not gonna take a picture of.
I got a little excited
man
when he told me about it. So hopefully I get to see you with no shirt on.
You know, I got to give a lot of credit to Seth too. You know, Seth has a lot of experience on that lake, and you know, he's not giving me his juice. I don't want his juice, but he's definitely saying, hey, you might want to check this, right? You might want to look at this. You might want to pay attention to the water level. You know, this is how the fish behave a little bit differently because
why y'all put my business out there like that?
Hey, you're on a public body of water, brother.
Darn. But yeah, I mean, Seth is an absolute hammer. So I'm going to take his feedback. Absolutely. I'm going to take his feedback and be like, all right, dude, if this is, I can't catch his fish, but if he's like, this is the fish behavior, and then that can kind of key us in on, you know, how we're going to run a pattern and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm a very big pattern guy. Like I'm poor. I don't perform well at junk fishing. I don't. I just know my weaknesses, right? And I would consider myself humble enough to say I'm not a great like bed fisherman, and I'm not a great junk fisherman. Those are the two things that I'm really not good at. Other than that, if you get me on a pattern, I'll run the pattern. If you get me on a school, I can catch fish out of a school. I'm really more of an offshore dude, but like I still love fishing shallow. And I caught enough today, but you know, Seth told me, he came back up and looked at me and he's like, you need to be covering water. And I was like, you're right. I do need to be covering water. I'm just trying to look and see with my eyes, like what's going on. Because that helps me kind of like digest like everything. But it is a lot of pressure, man. Like I'm definitely feeling it. Like Pete and Ben saw me when they came over tonight, and I'm in the boat, like re-rigging everything up and relining everything. Like I'm some Elite Series pro, which I'm not. But I just want to make sure, like, if I can control the controllables, I'll do that. And then, you know, God's going to let everything else fall.
Yeah. We got to control what we can control. Like I think Monday I swapped treble hooks on about 47 baits that I might even probably won't throw, but wanted to make sure just in case I needed them, they were ready to go. I never really re-spool like before a tournament, but about 7 rods got re-spooled last night. Because like Trey said, we got to control what we can control. just being in this position, like I'm proud because we said when we like sat down before we fished this first tournament, like what our goal was, and it was just to be consistent, right? Let's weight 5 fish at every derby. Let's be consistent, right? And we've done that to this point. We've cashed a check in every event. We've only been out of the top 10 once so far. Knock on wood that we can keep that going for one more derby. So it's been a great year. We've been able to put patterns together even on tough fisheries when fishing wasn't the best. We fished out. We've got comfortable being uncomfortable on more than one occasion and doing things that might not have been what we wanted to do, but was what we had to do, even though I whined and complained the entire time. But we still went out there and did it because we knew we needed to.
And you got some crazy stories.
We got some crazy stories that we never ran a GoPro for, and we will not have a GoPro for this tournament because we haven't had one on yet, and I'm not going to jinx it.
So every event this year. So first of all, this is the first year that Pete and I have ever fished a tournament together.
Yeah.
Like this is
we fun fish a lot.
Yeah, we fun fish, but like we've never fished derbies together. We have similar but very different fishing styles, right? We have strengths and weaknesses and stuff. And I'll tell you the most. So besides the craziness that's happened from Bugs Island to Gaston to even Mayo, like Pete texted me and got ejected out of a boat.
Yeah.
And that was one of the craziest parts. But getting to sit down with very experienced anglers like Jesse, Seth, Mike, all the
both
other
Mikes.
Both Mikes, Mikey and Nick, like all those guys, man, like that has been the most enjoyable part, one of the most enjoyable parts of the season. The finishes are great, but just learning from everybody, and soaking up information and trying to just like harness all that and put it in your, as the Army would say, your toolkit to be successful. That's been very, very cool for me because I'm not from here originally. Neither is Pete, neither is Ben. And there's a lot of guys that have 40 plus years of experience on these bodies of water. And Seth talked about it in the episode that we had him on. Like those guys are hard to beat, man.
You either figure it out or you're going to go broke.
That's right. That's absolutely right. So I'm looking forward to it, man. Whatever happens, but we're going to do our best.
I'm going to be a ball of nerves on Saturday until we put one in the boat. Once we get a bite and have one in the box, I know it's all going to actually, once they call our boat number and we're going, I know that I'll calm down because then we can control what we like. Yeah. Then it's all just up to us doing our job. Right now, there's so much practice, like trying to figure out what's going on in the lake right now, like strategizing run times. If we get boat numbers and if we figure this out and this is what's going on, is it worth doing? And then we're trying to account for the boat traffic we're going to have because it's Memorial Day Saturday. Like, could be ridiculous depending on what the weather does. And when I say ridiculous, I'm talking about I've talked to people that waited 2.5 hours to take their boat out of the water on Memorial Day Saturday because the ramp is so busy. Like there is a lot of things that you have to take in. And most of the things that we're talking about are completely out of our control. Watching water levels, barometric pressure. What's the weather actually going to do?
How much water are they going to be dropping?
So once we're actually there and running to wherever we're going to start, that's when I know the calm will set in for me, and it's just go do work. You've done everything you possibly can to get you to that point. Now it's time to go to work and do your job and go catch 5. And if it's 5 14 inchers, then it's 5 14 inchers, and that's what we were meant to catch. Yep. If we catch 30 pounds, then that's what we were meant to catch. But
you guys have,
I was thinking about it last night, actually laying in bed, like this entire tournament season to this point. I'm going to knock on wood again. We have not lost a key fish.
Nope.
Oh, you shouldn't have said that. I'm going to knock off.
No, I mean, I'm comfortable. We've fished really well. And if it's not meant to be, it's not going to be. I don't believe that I'm going to jinx it by saying it. Like,
oh, so we can throw a banana in the boat?
You're not putting a banana. Like, there's certain things that you do not do, and a banana in the boat is one of them.
You know what's funny is I had a banana in the boat during the Take a Warrior fishing event.
That's probably why I suck.
You weren't even in the boat.
But a banana by proxy. Like, well, so I'm excited to just go out there and get going.
I'll tell you guys what, I'm extremely proud and happy for you all this season. The amount of effort and pre-fishing, the amount of time you guys have thought about strategy and plan and sticking to it, it's paid off.
Yep.
I'm sure you guys would do well this weekend. I know Mike and Nick are the closest to you.
Yep.
They're awesome people. Love them. I just hope they finish more than 7 spots lower than you guys.
Yeah.
Or no more. They just
Yeah.
need to finish no more than 7 spots higher than you.
And Mike and Nick have absolutely been like some of the coolest roommates to have. Mikey is a veteran. He served forever. I think like 500 years in the Army. And Nick is from Michigan originally. He's a great dude. He's got a great family. And it's just a ton of fun room with those guys. And I think, a lot of the folks, watching and listening, especially if you're a traveling angler like Seth and Jesse and Mike and everyone else, like who you surround yourself with surround yourself with really helps your energy levels, right? Like the positivity and just talking to each other and cutting up and stuff. And in fact, it wasn't until this last tournament that our tradition was to not even pre-fish the lake that we were going to fish a tournament on. We would just go to Bugs Island and whack a bunch of fish. Probably piss the guys in the BFL or the cat or whatever else off because we were sore mouthing a bunch of fish. But that's what we would do. On that Friday, we wouldn't even go into that body of water. Now, I had to do that this last one because I didn't get enough. I didn't feel comfortable because I only had one day. But I strategically took, as civilian life calls it, vacation time leading up to these tournaments just to dedicate more time. And I was fortunate enough to do that so that I could pre-fish. But I appreciate those kind words, man. Like it has definitely been a roller coaster. So we'll see what happens on Saturday.
You guys got this.
It's been a fun year. I mean, we've got, I think if anything, like I said, being comfortable, being uncomfortable and decisions, we've made a lot of really good decisions. We were talking about that on Sunday, like 100% 2 tournaments we saved with fish in the last 15 minutes we had to fish because we made a decision to make a move to an area and called up that put us where we were. So it's been a lot of fun. I've learned so much this year, like he was saying, from the people we've traveled with and fishing more with Trey in a tournament situation. We've learned what our strengths and weaknesses there are as far as decision making and
we can't get spun out too.
Yeah, the good thing is typically one of us gets spun out, the other one doesn't, then we can calm each other down.
Yep.
We haven't both got spun out yet, so hopefully we can keep that going for this one. But I got spun out a little bit on where did I get Carr? No,
it was Gaston.
Yeah, I got spun out a little bit. Trey dialed me in, and then he got spun out later in the day, and I got him dialed in, and then Jordan, we never really got spun out. We had a good day there. I don't know how Mayo went for you because I wasn't there, but I have a feeling you were a little bit nervous because you didn't have a bunch later in the day.
You don't really understand how critical a partner is until you got a 5-pounder on a jig head minnow and you're trying to get and no kidding, that's exactly how I caught him. So Nick was like, oh, you're Trey McKinney in those fish, and but you're like thinking about your partner getting ejected out of a boat, thinking that was a really selfish move of him to go down and you got a 5-pounder after and literally like it was the coolest thing that ever happened. But I'm sitting there thinking like, where's the net man? You know what I mean? But it was definitely awesome. And David brings up something else too that we talked about growing a culture of anglers, and not only from the tournament side of the house, but just from the show, from the podcast side of the house. Like we got to experience tons of different make memories with tons of different people. And so David, it was really fun to hopefully show you some things and you show us some things. So that constant state of learning is one of the main reasons I do what we do.
Yeah, we're getting ready to wrap up, so I'm going to go back up because I know we had a bunch of comments, but we were talking there, and I didn't want to.
So a couple of minutes here of a question and answer, I guess.
Yeah. So if you have questions, now's a good time to ask. If you don't, then listen to me answer questions from earlier. So Jerry, I said Paul Stevens had big fish on Tuesday, 7.5 pounds.
I think a lot of these are in reference to
that was Jordan
talking about falls and the game plan and all.
That one was to Jordan. We were talking about the Tuesday
but below
night.
Those.
Any Leesville or Smith Mountain Lake slops? No. So our division of Fishers of Men doesn't go into Virginia yet. Maybe one day, but we don't have anything on the schedule right now. If we make the national championship, which we should,
I guess Carr technically is, but
I guess Carr technically, but we put it in North Carolina. So, but we we make the national championship. That'll be in April of next year on Murray. So looking forward to
That's a
potentially
straight
getting
spawn
down there.
fest too.
buddy.
Mid-April on Murray should be a lot of fun. Jeff said get a limit and go find big ones. It takes pressure off. Absolutely, yeah. Getting 5 in there is everything. Neil Boswell said weather might help keep some of those pleasure boaters at home. That's what we're hoping. We hope we get the storms and stuff.
Hey, Neil, just after the tournament guys get there, just go ahead and roll up and throw orange cones in front of the road for us.
That's right. Just block it off, man. I'll give you $50.
So I will say that is the one thing I missed about COVID. If you remember that year,
yeah,
they only had so many boat ramps open.
Yeah.
It was only the wildlife ones. So all the bass boats got there at 4 a.m.
Yep.
And the parking lot was full. And during the middle of summer, there were like no pleasure boats on Jordan Falls and Harris because there's no boat docks.
Are you saying bring back COVID? No, I'm just kidding.
If it keeps the wake boats off the lake,
appreciate that, brother. But yeah, we're looking forward to that. And then we have a championship, and then we're fun fishing. And then I'm going to live on the eastern North Carolina rivers for 3 months, and I'm going to go down there and whack a bunch of frog fish.
I think that's you bring up a good point about fun fishing, but and if you guys are looking at fishing a national tournament trail that's affordable, that's within close proximity to where you live, please look up the Fishers Men. Like, they have a fantastic organization. While the districts have a little bit different rules, they all have the same national affiliation, and you guys, the top 20%, I believe, fish at the national level.
Championship.
The national championship, which is obviously just like a lot of the professional circuits where they host it the next year, right?
And then we can fish the regional championship.
Yep. Well. So it's a great organization, but you talk about fun fishing. I think one of the things I'm going to do besides spending some time on the eastern side of North Carolina is I'm going to hit a lot of these lakes. And that's a great thing about Fishers and Men. It's kind of set up like the NPFL a little bit, where there's 6 regular season events followed by a championship. And it ends in June, which makes a lot of time for the rest of the year, if you're not fishing other trails, to just go fun fish. And I think I'm going to spend a lot of time on bugs and falls and Jordan and stuff like that, because that's typically our fisheries and stuff. So I'm looking for
we got to get you off Karen. You're always there on old Sharon.
It's just so easy. It's just like Seth, it's like minutes away from the house.
Yeah, no, I get you. Frank said, I'm still hurting from losing a good fish from last Saturday at Watery. Would have been a winning fish. Yeah, it happens. Wasn't meant to be, Frank. When it's meant to be, it'll be. So, yeah, wrapping up, I want to wish or congratulate our good buddy Mike Corbishley again.
Yeah.
Won the NPFL event, stop number 2 down there on Hartwell.
And he'll be in studio.
In a couple weeks. Yep. So we'll have
bringing
him in
that
here.
shield in, right?
Yeah, we told him he has to bring the shield or he's not welcome. So, no, he's going to bring the shield in for us to check out. We're going to have him on to talk about that derby, because that was a bit of a grinder. And I know if you watched the weigh-in, he was a little bit stressed because he had a dead fish. And he wasn't sure with that dead fish penalty if it was going to be enough. And it was. And congratulations. He's been close a bunch. And that's just a powerhouse. That house that he stays with in the NPFL is just an absolute powerhouse with Patrick Walters, Trent Palmer, Mike Corbishley, Drew Cook, and Justin Kimmel, like a bunch of hammers. 3 of them have won NPFL events. 2 of them have won Elite Series events. Kimmel's won an Open and some other stuff. I think he's won an Open. Maybe it was a BFL. Kimmel's won national stuff. Like there's a bunch of really good anglers in that house. It's fun to watch.
I want to, if I ever get fortunate enough to fish the NPFL, I'm going to have to stay with Seth, because he goes shirtless on his boat. You know what I mean? So I'm throwing it out there.
Putting his business out again.
The good news is for David, like, we'll know that day. So they hand out the Angler of the Year award. They tally everything up and they do it right there. We have a cookout. So we'll know that we're not going to have to wait a couple days or to a banquet for them to calculate everything. It's going to get done that day. So we'll know, shortly after weigh-in where we sit and whether we won that Angler of the Year title or not. And either way, I'm going to keep my head up because, like I said, I'm super proud. So, and I think Chelsea was talking about maybe coming to the weigh-in, so that's even more pressure because that would be cool. But no, make sure you check out Hobie Eyewear. Again, I want to throw that out there. I'm also going to throw OneCast Fishing, but Hobie Eyewear's got their Memorial Day sale going to the 28th. The link is in the comments. If you're listening to this before the 28th, there's also in the description, the link. You can click on that. You can save 20% off plus free shipping. OneCast Fishing. Head to OneCastFishing.com. When's yours start?
Sometime tomorrow, but
Okay.
by tomorrow night.
And
Don't use our code. You're going to get 20% off in their summer/Memorial Day bonanza sale. So,
And that's going to go to the 31st.
that'll go all right till the 31st. So if
Technically,
you're
it'll probably be like 3 a.m. Eastern time on the 1st to get the West Coast guys, but yeah, the 31st. So about 10 days or so.
Yeah. Appreciate the vote of confidence, Seth. Looking forward to seeing you out there and at the meeting Friday. It's always fun to fish against you guys, fellowship and all of that good stuff. So appreciate everybody that joined us live. Appreciate all of you that are listening to this recorded. We'll be back to our regular scheduled programming. We've got several Elite Series anglers lined up. We've got Mike Corbishley lined up. I've got the guys from Black Ops Tackle lined up to come in and talk about what they've got going over there, which is really cool. Looking forward to bringing you that stuff and looking forward to continuing to grow and help cultivate a culture of anglers, helping anglers one cast at a time.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh God, it's a toad, son. It's a toad, dude.
Yeah. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day.